morning, class. Welcome to Homeroom with Unk and Market Monk. Morning, P. How's your week?
Very good. I had a lot of MSTR, so I just sort of managed that the whole week. Um, Added that at 1:30, couple of rolls here and there. Great read on SMCI to start the week. I mean, that didn't that didn't wait. LLY, you know, people kind of maybe can see after a week of doing nothing why I was still talking about that so much. Um, Great range there. Helena Troy, Fastenal, last five earnings, kicking off earnings season right. So yeah, just really good stuff for me. Lot panned out that I've been on.
Yeah, no, I think definitely crossroads there on the SCMI. Kind of perfect timing on the Trump ticker for me. So I don't really like pushing that one too much. Roblox news, not a bad morning there either. It's happened twice in the last few weeks where
Yeah.
those really good tickers. Hims was the last one. Where you're getting an entry on something you were pissed about missing. So I don't know how that's hard to buy. Um, Docu, kind of grinder. Got a couple grinders like that. Docu, Helena Troy, which you mentioned, and then Weight Watchers. I got a Momo play going again, so that wasn't bad to get back onto that a little bit. And the price point on that was perfect for some end of the week fuckery. I guess it's real easy to throw 40
Right.
fifty
Yeah. Yeah.
bucks into that and let it slide around. But yeah, sizing's still king for me over here because we're broadening and these fireworks, what up, Goose, aren't going off every single day at the same time. They kind of go off one at a time to put on the show. And still
Yeah.
seeing that spy where it's at is interesting to me with the broadening, but overall pretty good week. Um, yeah, just in general. I mean, I don't know how you missed much last week. If you had a list,
Um,
if you had a list that you're on
yeah.
10 names, like there was activity everywhere. So
I had a software read that really worked out for me. And I mean, you say, I was like, well, I don't really say all SaaS, but all SaaS, and it's hard to get the best one. The best one was Net. I do have some, but my main trade were Snow and ZS, and both did really well. So that was a little bit of like an internal tech rotation where some chips were pretty quiet. AVGO pulled back. Nvidia was quiet, but then took off. So a lot of that going on. There's just not a lot of money um, sidelined, and they're not actively shorting a lot of things. But you see a lot of names slow down, and then you can catch where that's moving. Saw a lot of people get hurt on Tesla. I don't know why anyone buys Tesla at the combination of that spot in the chart into a scheduled news event. That's a bad combination for that stock, and it's nothing wrong with the stock or anything like that. This is just what it does. Doesn't
I,
I think Tesla makes a lot of cool shit. They got a lot of stuff on the pipeline. I think the company's fine, but yeah, it's going to come back down here, and it could go a lot lower too, and we know where. So
I didn't
been there,
even
done that.
mention the 17 things they showed leading into that, which I mean, very familiar with what was going to happen. I mean, there could have been more because Elon is
Yeah,
kind of vague, but I mean, we knew we were going to get the taxi stuff and a little bit of the robot stuff. And the presentation was really good, but I mean, as simple as I could put it, especially if you remember in our room, I'm a big Tesla guy. I mean, one's in the garage. I'm a pretty big Tesla guy. I wasn't
yeah,
talking about it because I didn't want to hype people up. I didn't say you can go put Robo Taxi in the search right now. You will not find me talking about it because I don't want to hype people up because this is just what happens. I'll hype you up
yeah.
when Tesla's on my level. That's when you're gonna hear me talk
Right.
about Tesla. And I've seen this cycle, and I posted a tweet. A guy did a beautiful job laying it out. But anytime they have big news, it's always underperforming for people because people that are in the trade I mean, granted that retail took them down this time, right? But people that are in Tesla trade pretty big, they want hard numbers and dates. They want to know you're
Yeah,
selling the car for this, the profits margin is this, and we're going to start selling them by here. And that's even got to line up with them. So just coming out with, we got this stuff and we're working on it, it's going to cost us more money over the next 5 years to develop it. Market didn't like that. And that's usually what happens with Tesla's events until Elon comes out with a hard date. Like, I'm putting this on the market.
yeah,
And then you see people kind of get a little bullish. And then there's still kind of an up and down to that cycle because he has to hit expectations. But on the long term, 5 or 10 years, you'll probably be all right buying Tesla here. But in the next 3 or 4 years, you're going to get a way better entry if you're just patient and buy off historical levels. So that one was
yeah,
easy. That one
absolutely.
was easy for me to just shut the fuck up about.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm totally with you. And I mean, it's you know, futurism, philosophically does not move stocks that well. It's the it's the actual hard numbers and things that people can see. I mean, that's why AI has done so well,
Well, just,
because
you just use
Nvidia.
my car
Oh, go ahead.
analogy,
Yeah,
P. Just use my car analogy. Like the $100,000 car, you're not going to buy it, but when I get down to 60, you'll think about it, right? Well, you want to buy
yeah,
this car that eventually will self drive?
right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right. Yeah, no. So I think the room handled that well as usual, but just one of those things that you just see. I mean, Twitter people were really loading up
Yeah.
into that, and that's just an amateur mistake
Well,
right
it's
there.
hype. Just hype. You gotta
Yeah.
play the hype. You gotta have the hype, and it's easy to sell a story. It's easy to come up with an excuse afterwards. All that good
Well,
stuff.
and how about this too? I mean, option side into the event, IV on those contracts was 170%. So you were paying, $600-800 in the money into the event, even if you straddled that with like one call and one put on both sides with a 10% drop, you were green, but you weren't really that green. And if it was 8% or 7%, you would have been red on that trade because that IV just plummeted. So the time to buy options on it even was after that event to an even greater degree than earnings,
Well, and
honestly.
aren't you in couple K too if you're buying Tesla options? I mean, it's not a cheap. It's not a
Um,
$50 contract,
yeah, yeah. I mean,
right?
right. No, exactly. I mean, if it, like a lotto, and you really, if you did a lotto on one side, um, to be realistic, was about $400 on a weekly. So that's
Weekly.
going to zero,
Yeah.
or it's going to 700. Is that really is that where you want to be
No.
with the trade?
No.
I mean,
Just buy two
and
shares and go back to work.
speaking of which, okay, so I'm gonna ask you this, and we're gonna talk small numbers here.
Okay.
Would you rather buy something for $10 that can go to $18 or $2, or would you rather buy something for $70 that can go to $80 or like $65 or 60? So
Well, that's
which
that. Well,
which
that
is
second
which is
one's
better?
2 to 1. That first one's a fuck you.
Yeah, it is right. And so look, I don't
So
care if it's $10. Like you're just because you're gonna because you know what? If even if you're buying one, if that's your style, you're gonna do it 10 times or 20 times, and half of them are gonna go to zero, and then the other half you're gonna say, I can get a fill. I'm not sure what's going on with this. Oh, yeah, it was 18 and now it's back to 13. Should I sell it? Um, that's not how you do options. It's way too chaotic. You're taking a stock with an underlying price under $15, and you're buying
buy shares.
a weekly on it. I mean, don't do that. If
Just
you
buy
want if
shares.
you want options on it, you buy shares, right? And if you have to have an option on it, that better expire 6 months from now, and it needs to be close to the money, even if the flow is 50% above the price, which it often is. You still don't want what they're buying. because you're not them. You don't have the share position to back it up. You don't have all the multi-leg shit they do behind the curtain. Um, I I simplify all of that to try to figure out what direction these whales want to go in. But in terms of managing that trade, you don't want lift 30 or lift 25. You just say, okay, well, they're probably going to push this thing to 20. All right, I'm going to be in March 12, and that's what if I'm going to swing that, that's what I'm going to buy.
No, I think you just buy
If
you
you
buy 100 shares and you sell March. You sell the
Okay, there
March
you
like
go.
15 or something like
Yeah,
that. That's what I do. I mean, so if you buy 100 shares, you're 1,200 bucks in. You sell the March 15, you still make 300 bucks on the shares, and you get the premium. Or you sell a little shorter term and you just do a premium over the next couple months. But I mean, you got to get
yeah,
yourself
yeah,
on the other side of those option contracts. That's just, I mean, or you shouldn't be playing if you can't afford those shares. I mean, you kind of said it like you don't have the share position. Well, that's what you need to do. You need to get one and
yeah,
sell against it. I think you're better off and you'll learn more because you're going to be on the right side of it. I mean, and if not, you're going to get exercised ahead. So, I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
that's
And so when people ask me, they're like, I just I'm trying to trade options. I'm really looking for like a simple setup. I mean, I post those notes every day. I mean, it really like for what we do. If we just want to talk about here's your value for your $40.
yeah.
What we're
Get to the
doing
meat.
right
What's the
now,
meat? What's the meat?
yeah, like if what we're doing right now in the hot list, like you're getting your money's worth. All right, just go check on those lists. But I do the notes. I like to do the notes. I share my process. I don't know how to make those simpler, but it is actually fairly expensive to trade those because you can't manage risk on $50 SMCI contract. You can't do it. I mean, because yes, they move like crazy, but if SMCI has a day where it goes 4% instead of 15%, then those $50 contracts aren't going to do anything. So you have to be in it plausibly in the money. That when I buy that stuff and I post those things, those notes, like I'm like, okay, this is going to go in the money if it's a weekly or 2 weeks from now, you know, in the next hour and a half. That's what I'm looking for. If it's end phase 130 something a couple of months out, no, it's more of a swing, and I protect it on the other side. But the if you're trying to develop your own method for trading options, what is your curriculum for figuring out how to do that? I have a long process that I've followed for and studied, and I put the time in that I figured out how I want to do this. And if you're just bringing it in, like I don't want to risk $250, so I'm going to buy something for $9. You're not even you're not learning anything buying those things.
I mean, what are you gonna
There's just
do?
no
Go
reason
three
to be
hundred
in trades
percent
like
for
this.
$27, and then you're not gonna like it anyway. I mean, let's just get real with that.
Right. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, if you have a gambler mentality, I mean, just be on. Go in the mirror, look at yourself. Hi, I'm a gambler. I like to gamble. Well, you also
Yeah.
know you're like what's gonna make you happy or what's gonna be your goal is gonna be pretty high. And I mean, this is not the space for you unless you figure out a way to meet that goal, and you're not going to do that with $9. I mean, I'm not even greedy, and I'm going to have trouble meeting my goal with $9. So
Yeah.
if you're a greedy motherfucker, you got no chance.
Yeah. I will say, like, if a gambler wants to sign up, just put a notification on the ER Casino, buy those, and and autopilot that. I mean, just 'cause, I mean that those are the ones that you know do have the big percentage gains. The thing there, you keep your sizing the same every time. This past week, it was three in there. Helen of Troy, Fastenal, uh, both went. Even with the on both sides of it, both went over 300%, and on the whole trade. And then Domino's Pizza, pretty flat through through earnings. didn't that one didn't work. So you got 2 out of 3, and they're 300%. So you did well.
Shoot,
And
all
then there's
right.
some weeks that there's some weeks that are better, but it only worked if you did the same sizing on all three of them. So if you just loaded up on dominoes, it didn't do the other two. Obviously, didn't do as well. So you have to use even then. I mean, even then, you can't just pile in. You can't see 1,000% gain on one of them and think, well, I'm going to put 1,000 into it. For the next one, it doesn't work like that. But yeah. So I mean, that's just my thing. You want to learn options. You're not modeling it on what I'm putting out there, or Pac or Goose. I mean, all three of us traded options differently, or what secondary's doing is
Secondary
pretty
too, yeah.
similar. Yeah, he's pretty similar to me. He has his own things he's doing. So those are good places to look. But just being like, I got $20 in my pocket. Uh, what weekly should I buy? That's not what I'm doing.
Yeah, let's not do that. I don't know where to direct you if you only got 20 bucks in your pocket, except for back to work. So
Yeah,
that's how I feel about it.
yeah,
And as always, shares for me just because of I mean, we talked about it last week, and I want to double down on it this week, but like the risk that you're trying to illustrate at the beginning with the 10-0 and whatnot. Like the shares, I mean, you might have a lot more money in it, and I'm sorry if options made you feel like your money can just evaporate in the market, but shares just don't go to zero. They don't. It's real hard
yeah,
for you to. I mean, you could wait 3 weeks and not even move, and it's almost like a, I don't know if options are just fast. They're just fast. Options are like trying to jump in a river and swim after a fish and catch it. Like
yeah,
that's hard. I mean, you can jump in the water occasionally and catch a fish. I've seen people do it. There's some YouTube videos. But shares are like fly fishing. You just got to sit there and move and just jiggle it, and you get a monster here and there. So I think a lot of people should just start with the shares, then go to covered calls, and then if you figure out the option game from there. But just hopping in options with 40, $50 because someone told you it was a way to make a good chunk of change is just wrong in my opinion. It's just wrong, and
uh,
I'll
yeah,
be I never want to lead people to that. So not that
yes,
we do, but it's just still kind of what people yearn for in some regard.
yeah, and I think I approach it sort of realistically in the sense that well, I'll okay, real quick analogy. I know my students use all the AI stuff in my classes. I know they do. So I'm like, let's just acknowledge that. Let's talk about how we're using it. And, I'm not trying to make it forbidden, not trying to keep it from them. Like, okay, you're using Chat GPT, you're using it wrong. This is what you're supposed to do. And I'll show them. Options, a lot of people come into trading doing options, want to do options. That's what they want to do. Okay, well, let's make it a piece of what you do. And don't do it like that. You do it like this. And so, I try to be as direct as I can with that, and then we go from there. And I think for a lot of those people, if they're you know blowing 10, 20, $50 here and there, just trying to trade options and they're clueless about it, that's okay. But there have been moments where like we have people like won't listen, want to do their own thing, pile into weeklies, lose thousands of dollars, and it's like I don't even want this dude here. Like I don't. I
Yeah.
mean, and they don't last long. So so yeah, that's not at all what we're about. It's never going to be what we're about. It's not watching people blow up and start a new small account challenge and I'll build back up again, top of the world,
Yeah,
and
fuck
then
that.
blow it all again. I mean that whole cycle, you can get that elsewhere. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm just still focusing on being early over here for sure. I mean, in the kind of the flip side of that coin, P. I mean, if people are learning and our room is growing, we're gonna run into this regularly because someone's gonna
yeah,
be there on that path, right? Like you're gonna see. I mean,
hmm
you teach the same subject. I'm assuming for several years. It's like, oh, we got this
Yeah,
kid
yeah, yeah.
again.
Right, right.
Qu-
Yeah, yeah,
Question you in on apostrophe or some shit like that. I don't know. Is there supposed to
yeah.
be a hyphen there? I don't know. And you just kind of see the same, not mistakes, but the same, places that people need to learn over and over again. And it's just good to remind yourself that it's healthy for someone to go through it, because you got to go through that to get to the right side. Not everyone grows at the same speed. So,
Yeah, no,
um,
absolutely.
and then kind of encourage, if you are there, talk about it so we can we can tell you where you're wrong and where you need to be right, because that stuff's been great in the room lately. Just people staying on stuff that JMIA mentioned. It bumped twice off the level this week if you like 10%, but that came from a member. And secondary does an amazing job there. Davey, Money Boys, all of them, with just kind of bringing in topics to the room, and that's really what it's about. Or if not, they never
Yeah,
come they
yeah,
never come to the
and I
forefront.
and I mean, I've learned things off losses before. I woke up to a bad day on Clove, on
Yeah, dude.
CRPP,
Yeah,
like
dude.
just
Yeah.
just just that sector and that thing, and then auctions too. Playing expirations too close for no reason, and then you're kind of stuck in that you know you're not going to catch the full move on it, or you keep them too long and they start to bleed out on you. And even if it was a green position, you're throwing things away. Roku was a big learning experience for me because I did it right. You help me with that.
52.
Um, that there was just no reason to keep holding Roku on that big pop.
Oh yeah, that was
That
when I was yelling at you to take money, huh?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So I did. I cleared it all out. It wasn't even like there was no purpose of even keeping. Oh, I'm just going to keep my original core position here, and then watch it go down that much. I mean, there was just no reason
it
for
would have
that.
went
So
down. It would have went down 50%.
yeah, exactly right. Um, so it'll let you back in,
And it did.
and it did, and it took a while, and the experience of working with that stock, you know, kept me in that trade, and just hit it again, and as usual, like it doesn't. You don't expect it's not going to maybe go as far as fast again, but it's going to make a hell of a move. It's going to get in this big zone we have, and kind of go from there. Soundhound was sort of the same way.
Are you in
Round
Roku?
you know round
Are
two,
you in Roku right now?
yeah, yeah.
God damn it! I'm so paper handy. I already got rid of that. But I mean, I had a decent amount though, and when we kind of pulled back the second time to back to volume P, I cleared out.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah.
I just got to pivot above. But yeah, the thing was like that first time it cleared that pivot above by about
Yeah,
like
definitely. Yeah.
$15 or something. So yeah, I mean at that point it's like you just go ahead and take it out.
Yeah, no, that's a great chart because of the range. Not to get too much into charts into this section, but
Yeah,
I wanted to talk a little bit before we get into SPY, just about ER in
yeah,
general, because I mean you're the ER guy in our room, but
yeah.
for me it's real simple. I got the scanner down here, and I change it sometimes depending on where we are in the season. Because if we're deep in the season, I do 5 days in advance. This thing is just way too full, so I usually tighten it up to a couple days when we're getting in there. But you can see right now, here's what's lining up for next week, and I'll just go through these and look what's on a level. I don't care about anything else. If it's on a level, and then I'll just post them in collabs, and that's it. It's that simple. That's the whole
Yeah,
process. That's the whole process,
right.
people. So, and then it goes into, okay, so we are in a good spot on the TA, and what does flow have, and if those flow levels line up, those are the ones we try to attack. But you don't have to overcomplicate it. Is the point of that, and trust your system. Which for me, it's TA, and then what the whales do, and so as simple as I can do. Check it has ER, check it's on TA. Hey P, check this out, and so I advise you guys to all come up with a pretty. I mean, if you want to know how to play them, that's as simple as it is for me. That's how I play them, and it also goes back to what Professor was saying about like the downside. Um, I don't want to buy an ER that's not on support, so I like
Yeah.
support. So what goes into yours? Is it just pure flow volume, or what? What do you see? That was kind of the. I keep it really
So it's
simple, and I'm sure Professor doesn't.
it's yeah. So it is it's flow. It's flow concentration of strikes at a pivot usually. So this is where the kind of the support thing gets in. It also the best ones the share construction's got to be right, where I can get a clean read on it. So that's why it tends not to be Nvidias and Netflixes of the world.
Because they're too
Just way
noisy.
too noisy.
Too
They're too
noisy.
noisy, and it's too the the best thing for whales to do with those is to try to keep them as flat as they can right through earnings to burn up all those options, and then they go from there. So those are the ones where the next day trade is what you're after. There's a little bit of sector in it. I mean, it's I really caught the downside on SAS for a couple quarters in a row, and just looking for the best setups there. So I sometimes have a kind of overall thesis that goes into it, or the retail, like Helen of Troy, the earnings before this one had the downside on that. Um, that was a pretty clean read. So yeah, it's for me it is very light TA and mostly flow driven. And there's just complexity to which contracts matter, and it's just something I kind of developed over time.
Yeah, I like ones that sold off too, like going in. Those are, but
Yeah,
again, you're looking for that value. Yeah, I think we're pretty similar there, except for we're not looking at the same information, so to speak.
yeah. Well, and I also the one thing I'll add too is it's not option volume. It's existing open interest that could I use the phrase wake up. So you have a bunch of contracts that are dead because the stock pulled back, you know, 15% or 20% the past couple months.
Yeah,
Duolingo was like that, and so then it's like, okay, well, these January contracts are now 30% out of the money. This stock gets a 20% pop; those wake back up, and you call up Duolingo really quick, and you'll see what I mean.
I had
Um,
I had
they
Helen of
just
Troy because that was kind of my thesis behind that was.
Yeah, yeah. So that's exactly what happened. I mean, that Helen and Troy, these contracts that woke up, those were in the money when they bought them, and they're just sitting there dead. So hey, we can resurrect these and do something with them.
Well, yeah, we had gap
So
back to
they're going to do it.
90. Had a gap back to 90, and you're at 60. Even if you got half that, which is what we did, it's a great trade. That was kind of the thesis behind
Yeah.
that.
Real quick, want to go through some boring stuff.
Yeah, let's do that before Spy.
It's well, this first one's not boring, but Bitcoin.
That's
So
boring.
they're it's been range bound for a while. MSTR, it was the only one. I mean that and Coin, but it was the only one I was really really focused on during this current moment in Bitcoin. And you saw how much it outperformed everything. And there's a very complex set of circumstances as to why, and it has to do with how they use the stock to buy Bitcoin and sort of um, the perception of how that works. And so there's just a lot pushing MSTR beyond the price of Bitcoin. So it's a little bit detached from that. It's at a point now where I think they're going to do offerings and buy more Bitcoin. What he does, but a lot of them have been quiet, and people are very frustrated who are in these miners in particular. And I think we're at a moment now where it can really try to make a big push, into the election or whatever the reason they want to come up with. But I'm expecting a pushback to 70K is what I'm looking at, and just trading around that idea. So that'll be in a little light on crypto stocks for our next session. I expect it to be a little heavier midweek. So just heads up there.
Yeah, I just buy the stuff on levels. A lot smaller
There you go.
lately. A lot smaller on lately
Yeah.
because it's been range bound. Um, Yeah, we need like 65 plus for some activity in those charts, for some good activity in those charts. So, uh,
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of them, they'll give you 8% days here and there.
you know
I
what?
think you take some off the table on those days.
I mean, I don't like to call news shots or nothing, but you know what I think is gonna push Bitcoin if we do get a big push?
What's that?
Bricks,
Yeah, yeah.
because that's been active again. They all had a meeting like last week. They're switching. Petrodollar,
No, that makes
petrodollar's dead, so I could see something around there coming up and then getting a big push.
yeah, I like that idea. Um, and
Not the
then
Trump coin. Not the Trump coin.
not the Trump coin. And then just I'll run these other ones down real quick. Natural gas. Looking for that to test three. So it's just gonna probably bottom out in this like 250, 260 area. Looking for that to follow through there. Still really like silver. It just need to see it
Mm-hmm.
push through 32,
Yes.
32, 36 move. I think good there. Gold. I just a lot of momentum. I just think whatever diagonal lines you want to draw or whatever the hell you want to do. I mean, gold's still solid. Silver's a little better of an opportunity trade wise, I think.
Yep.
Gold silver combos though. I mean, that's always a good place to look. And then copper, really solid on my end. I still think it's going to make a move to $5. 480 maybe, realistically in the near term. But yeah, the five breakout on copper is not something I would be dismissive of, and then it could just keep going.
keep buying lithium.
Yeah,
just
lithium
keep
too.
just keep buying lithium. I don't care what anyone
Lithium's
says.
that's maybe the easiest one. Yeah, I think so.
Just keep buying that. I think you should have that should be the new rule for the room. For every dollar you lose in a trade,
Yeah, exactly.
you have to
Right.
buy lithium. You have to dollar cost average into lithium without much money.
Yeah. Yeah, quite a hell of a move on some of those.
Yeah.
ALTM like
Oh
next day. I
God.
mean, jeez.
Yeah. I'm doing good over there across the board.
Yeah.
Just trying to get the position right and the DCA cost down.
Yeah.
So
Well, and okay, so how is it that like LAC we throw out the same upside target without even talking to each other about it?
yeah.
Um, but I mean that there's something to that. So just be aware.
Yeah, I mentioned the bottom this week. If you wanted the best price this week, I had you.
Yeah.
So, into Spicer a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
After the numbers, man, from a TA standpoint, real quick, and noticing, I mean, now that we have more information, that's what candles are. You kind of definitely get this established. Not there. You're getting this established line right in about the 53, 54 range. Excuse me, 63, 64 range, but you can kind of see a support resistance flip here on the last three candles. Yeah, strength, lots of strength.
Yes. It's I so my downside scenario for SPY um, was that it had to have it better have a bad start to the week and some follow through, or they're not going to be able to hold it down, and that's exactly what happened. So it tried, started a little sour on Monday,
Yeah,
but then
yeah, yeah. It didn't really stay down
took
there.
off from there.
The
Yeah,
65, 66 was the bottom. You had 62. I had 64, 76. So I was about a buck off. You had more range in general last week. The top though, we were three. No, I was five. I think you were four, 3, 4 bucks off on the top. So
yeah.
definitely, it just. I mean, it was Friday. We could start there, but um, yeah, just
It was
super,
Friday. And
super, super strong. Friday was
it
strong.
it outperformed the Qs, which tells you something about sectors and broadening, right? That so if QQQ is sitting there, at 0.16% green, and SPY is over 0.5% green, that tells you something. And it's about the makeup of of SPY that there being, oil in there and medical and, all that stuff. Um, so yeah, I mean, so that's kind of part of it too. So that's another like parallel thesis that I think is playing out and perfect for us. I love to look for opportunities in different sectors. Even restaurants came up for us. We're gonna follow
Yeah,
through on that.
yeah.
Uh, so yeah.
For
All right. So I do have
for
a.
real quick,
Oh,
real
go ahead.
quick
Yeah.
for me, just bigger picture thesis. There's a lot of world world events pivoting. It looks. I mean, Zelensky was asking for a goddamn ceasefire last week, so.
Yeah.
The UN resolution to actually go after Israel from us. Not no, just there's a lot of not normal stuff. And full disclosure, let me get this out the way so you don't think I'm a fanboy or nothing. But I just voted. I got my we vote early out here. You have any idea who I voted for, P?
Yeah. I think I do.
Go spit it out. Spit it out.
Trump.
Nope, nope. Dr. Cornelius West.
There
Cornel
you go.
West.
All right.
All right, so
Nice. Okay.
I've only voted for a Democrat or Republican once, and it was Obama first term. They tricked me into that. But I've never
Uh,
voted for a two-party candidate. But why I say that is so you don't think I'm a fanboy with this next statement. But I think they know Trump's going to win, and
okay. Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
seeing that pivot right now, and the market. And what the market's doing, it makes sense because that's what I thought was going to happen after the decision. I just thought we are going to have a lull going into the decision, but I think
Yeah.
they know. I think everybody. I mean, even in the switch in the media this week. I mean, the SNL last night on Harris. I mean, there's a
Yeah.
lot. It just looks like they already know who's going to win. So I'm going to be watching that this week. It's my overall thesis for the market to still go up, and it's not because I'm a Trump fanboy because I ain't voting for red or blue. It's just I fucking hate politics. So.
No. Yeah. I'm with you. Yeah. They don't. I don't know if he. I actually. He's probably who I would go for. I don't know that he's on the ballot in Oklahoma.
I
We're a
had
little
Jill.
more.
I voted for Jill a few times, and she's just a grifter. But
Yeah. Yeah.
so like
Um,
he's at least a, I don't know. If you like a little bit of that Martin and Malcolm feel in your political spectrum, he's all we got. So.
yeah. Pretty much. Yeah. No. I'm with you on that. That approach to things for sure. I just. I don't like to align with people that will embarrass me, and
Oh
the big
sure,
parties do that. The big parties do that. So
sure,
I don't. I don't like hitch my wagon to them. But
sure.
yeah. So no. I think that um, I think there's something. I think there's something to that. I do, and I do also think that the a lot of the initial thoughts on if we go that direction, and you think about you know who benefits,
Yeah,
offshore drilling and stuff like that. So for for us, that's always my first thought is because that's kind of the work we do, and so definitely going to be ready for that. Um, all right, so I have a contract that I want to talk about
no shit. It's
that
probably
is gonna move the needle. I think here.
no, is it like December 1st, 590?
No, no, so it's March 5/20,
Okay.
and I don't say it to. It's not actually the that oh we're headed to 5/20. Heavily sold right now, but when people talk about manipulation or control or whatever you want to call it, I think of it in terms of like kind of elasticity, like a rubber band. You're going to stretch the rubber band. You're going to hook it to 5/20 March, and then you're going to stretch it, and then the tension gets too high and it pulls back, and so that contract starting to flip is what is going to drive the pullbacks to me. Very simple read on SPY. I know there's a lot more to it, but it's what I found. It's what I used to identify a lot of the major pullbacks that we've had. So it's the one I'm watching right now. About 70% sold, so they're selling it. So
Is
it's not really that concerning.
is
And
it
also with it being March, add $30, and that's where we're headed.
So
Not
it lines
a
up with
platform.
that 50 SMA on the weekly test. I said that we should get at some fucking point in time.
Yeah,
That's the number. But what bothers me is we've had that number now for a while, and is that are
yep.
they just passing the hot potato over there? Is this dead volume, active volume? I mean, I know that's your side, but really, how are you dissecting that at this point in
Well,
time?
no, it's not. It's new in the sense that it's March and not December.
So they kick the can
So
down the street again.
exactly, that's what they
Okay,
did.
okay.
And so it's not something to trade on for a bear thesis. But what I'm telling you is, you see me say I kind of like SQQQ here. It's because I saw a change in this, and not because I read SQQQ flow. So
Yeah, yeah, that makes
that
total sense.
yeah. So that's it's the one I'm watching for the big pullback. Right now, I it's not going to do. I don't think it's going to do much. I think we're going to continue higher from what I can tell. And we retest something. We're retesting some fat green candle in the past
Yeah,
few
yeah.
days.
Well,
So
you'll know. It'll be a world event, I assume, if we're gonna hit
yeah,
something like that. Which there's plenty of that on the table right now. And I mentioned last week that Careg, the K8. I'm gonna spell it because I think it's gonna happen. But the
yeah,
KHARG, that little island off the coast of Iran,
mhm.
It's just like Nord Stream a few years ago. It's a hot target right now, and if that escalates much more, that they do anything there, it just messes with oil production so much. Like you could see pull back and escalates the war a little bit. But I mean, there's plenty of stuff on the table still that you could wake up to some pretty big downside. And I mean, we covered every time. That's not the target. You only have to get even a 535 here is going to make that contract sweet. Um, so yeah, yeah. I mean,
What do you?
we are overextended, P, just in general. So
Oh yeah.
it doesn't surprise me. It really doesn't surprise me.
So there have been catalysts that could have been bearish if the market chose to treat it that way.
Mm-hmm.
The FedEx earnings that had been historically had been one, and there was some concerning things that they said, and Boeing just laid off 10% of its workers. Boeing kind of has its own issues, but I mean you see a lot of layoffs,
Yeah, yeah. That's a.
and
I know where you're going with this, but like Boeing's a great example. So the ripple of that, right? Are you going to drag down casinos, hotels, and restaurants farther than they already are
uh,
because of Boeing's
yeah,
issues?
right,
That's not
right,
happening. They're in the
yeah,
dirt.
no, exactly. Restaurants too.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, exactly.
Red Lobster cleared bankruptcy. Uh, that is as big a news for restaurants as you will find. More so than anyone posting great earnings or something. It's survivability.
Yeah, yeah.
Red
Red
Robin.
Robin. Yep.
Hey, we're still here. That's all it took. It took off from there, and it's just retracing some space on the chart. So yeah, no, I think lay we're way past the point where there was a moment where layoffs in tech were bullish because it was like, okay, they're going to get more lean, figure some things out. That's what Facebook did. Uh, and then all of a sudden, the metaverse, which was a disaster for them, doesn't matter anymore. They figured it out. And so, a lot of SaaS, these stocks already went through all that. Snowflake, whoever. It's like, okay, now we're kind of we're rebuilt now, and a lot of room above on this chart. A lot of reason for optimism, going forward. CrowdStrike, we saw what happened with them, and so I think there's just a lot of resilience and bounce back, and so a lot of the negative catalysts. It's going to take a lot more. It's going to take Fed action based on these cascading layoffs for me to say that we're going to really change the whole direction of the market based on that.
Well, when X, Y, and Z companies, all your restaurants we just mentioned, are already at like book value or less, like you're getting the company for like is it going to go out of business or not? That's the level of the stock price. It's not. There's no growth metrics
Yeah, right.
tied
Hey,
into there. So I mean, just get back to the basic fundamentals, and some of them were. I mean, that's what happened with Carvana. Granted, the share structure took it a little farther, but I mean, are they going out of business or not? And if they're
The
not,
here's a
you're in the wrong
yeah,
spot.
a quick analogy, and then we'll hit some spy numbers. I was in a fraternity in college, and they won most improved chapter 2 years in a row, um, because it was so bad
Yeah.
that it was like, they had, half their guys pass their classes. Most improved, and then okay, they got back to the median level of what we expect. So here, most improved again. So like, a lot of these, they don't have to do much from these levels, as opposed to, an all time high chart where they got to keep outdoing themselves. They got to get this astronomical growth, and then they got to do it again, and they got to do it again. So it's a different kind of setup, and yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of sectors that already took their beating, real estate too. So
Yeah, they're just stuff that wasn't a part of people's moat. And by people, I
yeah,
mean big people. Big, like the New York Police Retirement Fund. Like they just didn't
yeah,
get rid of their Lily. Those kind of
right,
guys. Not
yeah,
me and you. We're trading
right,
Tesla for, we got to move Tesla
yeah,
14%. Sorry.
yeah,
That still got me. Um,
yeah.
583.25 on the top. Man, I'm just gonna tick it up a little bit. That's a number out of my ass, because there is no numbers up there. And then 569.69. I got 570 here on the 20-day. I'm just a tick below that. Might as well shout out Goose while I'm here.
So I got 584.95, and my rationale for that is QQQ at all time high. So I'm kind of mapping that onto this. Think Netflix earnings might push it. Uh, some follow through with Nvidia, that kind of thing. And then downside, I'm going 574.36.
574.36. So you got a high floor.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it. Do we finish above 580 on the week? That's a good question.
Yes. Yeah, I think we do. I think the late week earnings carry it.
Perfect. Bonus question: does Nvidia finish above? And it's 134 right now. Does Nvidia
Mhm.
finish above 130 next week?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna go yes on the 580 and no on Nvidia. It's at resistance right now. That's my thesis behind that. Nothing more, nothing less. Pull back. Perfect. You ready to get to work, P?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm all situated, coffee and all that, so we can
Perfect.
just go into it if
I'm
you want.
gonna like, subscribe, link somewhere.